You disobeyed a direct order, Sergeant! This isn't heroism, it's insubordination!
And I saved 117 people. Got any other complaints?
Don't scroll. The most exciting part is coming up. Subscribe, hit like, and drop a comment. The phone rang at 4 in the morning. Ava Reynolds wasn't asleep. She was perched on the windowsill with a cup of coffee, staring at the dark outlines of the Sierra Nevada. 9 years in uniform had taught her to read calls. This one was bad. "Reynolds," she said, clipped. "Full readiness. Maple Creek is on fire. Roll out in 20 minutes. The dispatcher's voice was mechanical, emotionless. She tossed the receiver onto the bed and reached for her uniform. Her hands trembled not from fear, but from adrenaline, or from the fact that last night her father had called again and said, "You're playing soldier while your brother lies in rehab. Bravo, Ava. Real family of you." She buckled her belt and laced her boots. The mirror threw back a lean face with a hard jawline the same as her father's. She hated it. The base hummed like a beehive. Guardsmen ran between trucks. Someone cursed while hunting for a gas mask. Someone else checked radios. Ava found her squad by the supply shed, 3 engineers, all 5 years younger than she was. "Care, Jackson Morales," she nodded. "You check your tools?" "Yes, Sergeant." Care was far too chipper for 4 in the morning. He was 22 and still believed the Army was an adventure. Ava was about to snap something sharp, but she spotted Captain Pierce striding toward her across the parade ground. Young, ramrod straight, perfect posture, and eyes that hadn't yet seen true catastrophe. "Reynolds, a word," he drew her aside. "You hear about Davis?" Her heart tightened. Davis, her former partner, who'd left for the fire service last year. "What about him?" "He's stuck on the North Ridge with a crew. We lost contact an hour ago." She stared at the ground. Davis, the man who taught her to pitch a tent one-handed, who had kissed her once, 5 years back, when they were both drunk after training and decided it was a mistake. "Are we going after him?" "No, we're evacuating civilians. Fire crews are working the Davis situation." "But that's an order, Sergeant." Pierce walked off. Ava stood there, fists clenched. The convoy rolled out just as the sky began to pale. Smoke sheeted the horizon, not gray, but yellow-orange, alive. Ava sat in the Humvee beside the driver and watched the road. The radio crackled. "Evacuation, Maple Creek. About 800 civilians. 1 road south. Wind increasing." "Gonna be fun," Jackson muttered from the back. "Shut it," Ava said without turning. They reached the town in an hour. Maple Creek was tiny, one main street, a church, a school, a store. Now it looked like a horror movie frame. People running with armloads of belongings, shoving kids into cars, shouting at one another. The air stank of smoke and scorched rubber. Captain Pierce spread a map on a hood. "Our job is to hold the perimeter. Nobody goes onto the North Grader. Bridge is out. Anyone who tries dies." Ava looked from the map to the line of cars choking the road. "When does the detour open?" "When the engineers clear the slide. 6 hours, maybe less." "The wind won't wait 6 hours." Pierce gave her a cool look. "I know, but an order is an order." She nodded, though everything inside her screamed. The next 2 hours were chaos. Ava's team held the checkpoint, turning back people begging to take the northern route. A woman sobbed with a newborn in her arms. A man shouted that his father was dying in a house over the ridge. A boy of about 10 stared up at Ava with wide eyes and asked, "Are we going to burn?" "No," she said, "not today." But she didn't know if that was true. At 9 in the morning, the radio tore the air. "Wind shift. The front is moving into the valley. Rate of spread critical." Ava looked at the sky. The smoke no longer rose. It fell, thick and choking. The temperature jumped 10 degrees in a minute. She walked to Pierce. "Sir, we need a plan B." "There is no plan B. We wait for the engineers." "People will die." "Reynolds, I understand your concern, but it's not concern. It's a fact." His jaw tightened. Return to your post. She left, but not for her post. She headed to the yard where a modular bridge sat, gray metal sections she had assembled hundreds of times in training. The pieces belonged to the engineer company traveling with the column. Ava looked east of the road. There was a shallow ravine with a creek. Low banks, stony ground. A bridge would set. She knew it would. She also knew it would break orders. Ava pulled out her phone and looked at the last message from her brother. Don't call. Don't want to hear from you. Below it, a missed call from her father. Below that, nothing. No one she could call and ask, what do I do? She pocketed the phone and went to find her guys. Kerr and Jackson were by the truck, smoking. Morales sat on the ground, fiddling with his phone. When Ava approached, all three straightened. Listen up, she said quietly. We're deploying a bridge across the ravine east of the road. Now. Kerr blinked. But the captain said. I know what the captain said. In 20 minutes, this road becomes a trap. I'm not going to watch 22 kids burn because someone at headquarters didn't sign a piece of paper in time. Jackson glanced at Morales. Morales looked down. If something goes wrong, Kerr began. If something goes wrong, I take the heat. You followed a sergeant's order. You're clean. And you? I'll deal. She said it flatly, though her chest burned. Kerr took one last drag and flicked the cigarette. Okay, what's the play? For the next stretch, they hauled bridge sections to the ravine. The metal was heavy, hot from the sun. Sweat stung their eyes, backs ached. Ava laid out positions, showed where to drive in the piles, how to pin the sections. She worked mechanically, without thinking. Thinking now would mean stopping. A voice behind her. Reynolds, what are you doing? She turned. Pierce stood at the edge of the ravine, arms crossed, face carved from stone. Setting up a contingency, sir. I didn't give that order. I know. They stared at each other. The pause stretched. If this bridge collapses, Pierce said quietly, people die. That's on you. If I do nothing, people die. That's on me too. So I'm choosing the option where something depends on me. Pierce said nothing. Then he looked at the smoke, at his watch, at the map in his hands. No cars until you check the footings, and I didn't see this. He walked away. Ava exhaled and shouted to the team, move, we're short on time. They tightened the last bolts just as the heat spiked. The smoke was so dense it was hard to breathe. Ava climbed under the bridge, checked every footing, tugged every connection. It held. Morales, run to the checkpoint. Tell the volunteers one car at a time. Sedans and pickups only, no trailers. Slow. Morales sprinted off. Ava stood on the bank, studying their work. The bridge looked fragile, slender metal trusses over a narrow ribbon of water. But it would hold. It had to hold. The first car rolled up 2 minutes later. An old sedan, a woman of about 60 at the wheel. 2 kids in the back. Ava raised a hand. Slow, dead center. Don't stop. The car eased onto the bridge. The metal side soft, barely audible. Ava held her breath. 1 second. 2. 3. The car made it across. Ava exhaled. Jackson laughed beside her, giddy with tension. Holy hell, it holds. Next, Ava shouted. Cars started across one by one. 10 minutes in, a shout. Bus is stuck. School bus on the main road. Her stomach dropped. Where? Half a mile north. Wheel came off. Kids inside. Ava looked at Kerr. You hold the bridge. Anyone who shows up, you send them. Do not stop. Where are you? But she was already running. The smoke seared her lungs. Ava pounded along the shoulder, Jackson keeping pace. The sky had gone red, not sunset, but the reflection of fire. The temperature jumped another 5 degrees. It felt like the air itself was burning. She spotted the bus around a bend. A young guy in a volunteer t-shirt flailed near the door. Inside, small faces pressed to the windows. How many? Ava shouted as she ran up. 22, I can't. The jack won't hold. Quiet, she said, not harsh, just firm. Open the back door, now. The driver nodded and hurried to the bus. Ava turned to Jackson. Boards, wedges, anything. We need to lift the frame. They found 2 thick branches and some scrap boards nearby. They levered under the bus, heaving. Metal screeched, the tilt eased. Ava wiped her face, her sweat was black with ash. The rear door banged open. 22 faces stared at her, some crying, some silent, clinging to backpacks. One little girl clutched a teddy bear and looked at Ava like she was the last person on earth. Hey, Ava said, trying a smile. I'm Sergeant Reynolds. We're going to come out 2 at a time. Hold hands. No running. Follow me along the path. You'll see a gray bridge. Got it. What if we fall? Asked a boy of about 8. You won't. I'll be right there. She started leading them out, 2 by 2 by 2. Jackson scooped up the little ones who couldn't move fast. Ava took the girl with the bear by the hand and guided her through ash and smoke. One boy remained, about 6. He sat on the floor, clutching his backpack, breathing hard. Asthma, the driver said. His inhaler's in the pack, but... Give it. Ava grabbed the backpack and lifted the boy into her arms. He was heavy, but she held tight. What's your name? Ethan, he whispered. Ethan, hold on to my shoulder. Don't let go. We're heading to the bridge. Air's cleaner there. She walked. Her back blazed with strain. Through the smoke, the bridge appeared. Care stood on the bank, waving. This way, move. Ava hurried down to the bridge and set Ethan on his feet. He latched onto her hand instantly. You did great, she said. Now go with this man. He's got water for you. Care took the boy and led him toward the cars. Ava bent over, hands on her knees, fighting for breath. Her lungs burned. Ava, Jackson yelled. Look. She lifted her head. On the southern ridge, a band of fire had appeared, a living curtain of hell pouring toward the valley. How many more cars? Ava shouted. 4. One of them's an ambulance. Push them all, then we pull the bridge. The last vehicles crossed in 3 minutes. The ambulance barely fit, its mirrors nearly scraped the trusses. When it cleared, Ava touched the bridge. The metal was hot enough to sting. Break it down, she told Care. Fast. They started pulling sections when the wind snapped without warning. Fire crashed into the valley, not slowly, but all at once, like a living creature. Ava looked up and saw the pines on the ridge turn into torches. Run, she screamed. Leave it. They sprinted for the truck. Care stumbled. Jackson hauled him up. Morales fired the engine. Ava jumped into the bed last as the fire reached the ravine. The heat felt like it was melting skin. The truck shot forward. Through the rear glass, Ava watched flame lick over the road they had just traveled. The bridge they'd left vanished in the blaze. She shut her eyes and let her head fall back. Everyone lived. Everyone. The base met them in silence. Guardsmen stood by the entrance, watching. Someone began to clap. Then someone else. Then everyone. Ava climbed down from the truck without looking at anyone. Her uniform was black with smoke. Her face was gray with ash. All she wanted was a shower and a bed. But Captain Pierce stood on the parade ground, arms at his sides, face stone still. Sergeant Reynolds, with me, he said. She followed. Her legs wobbled with exhaustion. They stepped into his office, a tiny room with a metal desk, and an old air conditioner rattling in the corner. Pierce sat and motioned to a chair. Ava took it. You disobeyed an order, he said. Yes, sir. You deployed military equipment without authorization. Yes, sir. You put subordinates at risk without coordination. Yes, sir. Pierce was quiet. Then he pulled a folder from a drawer and set it on the desk. Official report. I filed it as tactical adaptation to a changing situation. No disciplinary action. You evacuated 117 civilians, including 22 children. No casualties. Fire crews confirmed the road was impassable 15 minutes later. Ova stared. What? You heard me. But why? Pierce leaned back and scrubbed his face with his hands. Because you were right, and because I was a coward. I was afraid to take responsibility, so you took it for me. Sir, shut up, Reynolds. Let me finish. He stood and went to the window. I graduated West Point with honors. I know the reg is cold. Today I learned that knowing the rules and making decisions aren't the same thing. You saved lives because you weren't afraid to break the rules. I almost lost them because I was. He turned back to her. Next time, get me to yes before you move, even if you've got 15 minutes. But if I say no again, and you know it should be yes, do it. I'll cover you. Ava had no words. She just nodded. When she stepped out of his office, Care was waiting by the door. Sergeant, someone's here to see you. Who? No idea. Civilian. Says he's from Maple Creek. She headed for the entrance. By the gate stood a man around 40, holding a thermos and a box. When he saw Ava, he smiled. Sergeant Reynolds. Yes. I'm John Dennison, Sheriff of Maple Creek. Wanted to thank you in person. You saved my town. He held out the thermos and the box. Coffee and donuts. I know it's not much, but thank you, Ava said, taking the thermos. It was warm and smelled of cinnamon. And one more thing, the sheriff pulled an envelope from his pocket. The kids from the bus drew these for you. They wanted to hand them over themselves, but I told them you were wiped out. Ava opened the envelope. Inside were drawings of a gray bridge, a yellow bus, a figure in uniform, a wobbly caption, "Thank you, Sergeant Ava." She stared at the picture and felt something seize her throat. Tell them I'm glad everyone's alive. I will. The sheriff left. Ava stood there holding the drawings and, for the first time in 9 years of service, felt like she was doing something right. Ava reached the barracks at midnight. A shower, a clean bed, quiet. She lay down and shut her eyes, but sleep wouldn't come. One name circled her mind, Davis. She grabbed her phone and called the firehouse. Hello, this is Sergeant Reynolds, National Guard. Do you have an update on the crew stranded on the North Ridge? One moment, a woman's voice said. A pause. Static. Ava clenched the phone so hard her fingers hurt. The crew was evacuated 2 hours ago. All alive. 2 in the hospital with burns, the rest okay. And Michael Davis? Was he there? Davis. Yes, he's on the list. Uninjured. Ava exhaled. Thank you. She tossed the phone onto the bed and rubbed her face with both hands. Davis was alive. Everyone was alive. So why did it still feel like something was wrong? The phone rang. She looked at the screen, her father. Ava stared at the name for a long beat, then took the call. Hi, Dad. You hear the news? His voice was sharp as ever. Your brother relapsed, walked out of rehab. Cops are looking. Her heart tightened. What happened? What do you think happened? He's an addict, Ava. And instead of being here helping, you're playing soldier in the mountains. I'm not playing. I saved 117 lives today. And how many times have you saved your brother? None, right? Because you ran. You put on a uniform and ran. Ava clenched her jaw. I didn't run. I joined up. It's not my fault, she said quietly. He's an adult. He makes his own choices. He's your brother. I know, but I can't live his life. I can't. You could be here, but you chose not to be. He hung up. Ava sat in the dark, holding the phone, and felt everything she'd felt after the day pride, relief wash away with a single sentence. She couldn't save everyone, no matter how hard she tried. Ava set the phone on the nightstand and closed her eyes. Instead of sleep, she saw her brother's face, Kyle, 16 when she enlisted. He stood on the porch and looked at her like she was betraying him. You're leaving me too, he'd said. She'd answered, I'll be back. But she hadn't. Not really. A knock at the door. Reynolds, you awake? Jackson's voice. Ava got up and opened the door. He stood in the hall in sweats and a t-shirt, holding 2 cups of tea. Couldn't sleep, he said. Figured maybe you couldn't either. Want one? She took it. Thanks. They walked out to the parade ground and sat on a bench near the barracks. The night was quiet, the sky blackened by ash. Ava took a sip. I thought I was going to die today, Jackson said suddenly. When we ran from the fire, I thought, that's it. But you didn't. Because of you. Ava shook her head. Because of all of us. No, Jackson looked at her. Because of you. You made the call. We just executed. They sat in silence. Far up in the mountains, a dull red still smoldered. The fire wasn't over, only pushed back. You got anyone? Jackson asked. Family, a guy, someone you call after days like this. Ava smiled, sad. I had a brother. We don't talk. Why? Because I left and he stayed, and he can't forgive that. Jackson nodded. My sister's the same. Says I ran to the army because I was afraid of real life. Maybe they're right. Or maybe real life's different for everyone, he said. For some it's an office and a mortgage. For us it's mountains and wildfires. Ava finished her tea and stood. Get some sleep, Jackson. We're back at it tomorrow. You too. But she didn't go to bed. She walked to the motor pool, climbed onto a truck hood, and typed a message to her brother. Kyle, where are you? I'm worried. Please let me know you're okay. No reply. Not for an hour. Not for 2. Not for 3. Ava sat on the hood, watching her phone screen, and waited. The next morning brought news. Davis's crew had returned to the fire base in the town of Pine Ridge, about 30 miles from their camp. Ava heard it at breakfast and headed straight for Pierce. I need 2 days, she said, stepping into his office without knocking. Pierce looked up from his paperwork. For what? Personal business. He studied her a moment, then nodded. All right, but be back Monday. We've got a new operation. I'll be here. She grabbed a set of keys and rolled off the base 20 minutes later. The road to Pine Ridge was chewed up, full of potholes and charred branches. Ava drove fast, white-knuckled, no music. One thought looped in her head. She had to see him. The Pine Ridge firehouse was small red brick, 3 bays, a sign that read, Pine Ridge Fire Department. Ava parked and went inside. A man around 50 sat behind the counter, flipping through a ledger. Good morning. I'm looking for Michael Davis. He looked from her to the uniform. National Guard. Yes, we served together. He's out back, cleaning gear. Ava walked through the building and out into the yard. Davis stood there tall, broad-shouldered, in a black t-shirt and work pants, hosing off equipment back to her. A white bandage wrapped his left forearm. Davis, Ava called. He turned. A beat, then a grin wide, unguarded. Reynolds, holy hell. He dropped the hose, came over, and hugged her so tight her ribs ached. He smelled like smoke and coffee, a familiar scent that pinched something in her chest. How are you? She asked, stepping back. Alive. Nothing serious. You? Alive. I heard I'm a hero again. He waved it off. Sure, just another day at the office. They sat on a bench under a tree. Davis pulled out a pack of cigarettes and offered one. Ava shook her head. He lit up. When we were stuck on that ridge, I thought of you, he said abruptly. Thought, if Reynolds were here, she'd already have a plan. You'd have had one too. No, I panicked. We all did. Only the captain held it together. He got us out. They were quiet. Davis took a drag and blew smoke. Why'd you come, Ava? Wanted to make sure you were alive. You could have called. I know. He gave a small, sad smile. You haven't changed, still running toward the scary places. And you? I tried to run from the scary, left the guard cause I didn't want to die in the mountains. Now I put out fires in the mountains. Makes sense, right? Ava looked at him. There was an old, deep fatigue in his eyes, the kind that doesn't sleep off. You didn't run. You chose a different road. You really think so? I do. He finished his cigarette and ground the butt under his boot. 5 years ago, when I kissed you, you said it was a mistake. Ava froze. Davis, I know, and I agreed. But sometimes I think, what if we had not decided it was a mistake? What if we had tried? She looked at him for a long time. Then she said, I would have broken you, or you would have broken me, because neither of us knows how to be with someone without hiding behind the uniform. Davis nodded. You are probably right. They sat another hour, talking about little things, the fires, the guard, how the town had changed. When Ava was about to leave, Davis asked, Are you going to be all right? I will, she said. And you? I will try. She drove back as the sun was setting. His words kept circling in her head. What if we had tried? But she knew the answer. They would have broken, both of them, because they did not know how to be vulnerable. They did not know how to ask for help. They knew nothing except service. The phone rang when she was 10 miles from the base. An unknown number. Reynolds. Ava, it is me, her brother's voice. Quiet, hoarse. Her heart jumped. Kyle, where are you? In Sacramento. I am in a bad way, Ava. She pulled the Jeep onto the shoulder. What happened? I relapsed. Again. And I do not know what to do. Dad will not talk to me. And I just want to disappear. Ava clenched the phone. Tell me the address. I will come. Do not. I just wanted to hear your voice. Kyle, I am sorry I was such an asshole. You are not to blame for what I am. It is my choice, my failure. It is not a failure. You are sick, but you can get better. I cannot. You can, but not alone. Tell me where you are. A pause, a long, unbearable pause. A motel on Elm Street, room number 12. I will be there in 2 hours. Do not go anywhere. Ava, promise me. I promise. She hung up and hit the gas. The motel on Elm Street was a wreck, scuffed doors, a broken neon sign, the stench of rot and cheap cigarettes. Ava parked in front of room number 12 and knocked. Kyle, it is me. The door opened. Kyle stood in the doorway, thin, hollow cheeks, dark circles under his eyes. He looked older than 23. Hi, he said softly. Ava stepped inside. The room was tiny, a bed, a chair, a little table with a lamp. Empty bottles on the table, and something she did not want to identify. When did you last eat? Kyle shrugged. I do not remember. She took out her phone and ordered a pizza. Then she sat in the chair, he on the bed. They were silent. You look like shit, Ava said at last. Thanks. You do not look so great either. She smiled. He did too. Not for long. Kyle, I know what you are going to say, that I need help, that I should go back to rehab. But I cannot, Ava. I tried 5 times, and every time I relapsed. Ava leaned forward. Because you keep trying alone, without support. I had support, Dad. Dad demands that you get better for his sake, but you have to get better for your own. Kyle rubbed his face with his hands. I do not know how. No one knows. You take a step, then another, until it sticks. He looked at her. Is that what you did? Yes, every day. The pizza arrived. They ate in silence. Kyle finished 2 slices and stopped. I cannot eat more. That is fine. They sat another hour, talking about small things. About childhood, about how they used to go fishing with their father until he became only demanding and cold. About how Ava joined the guard and Kyle felt abandoned. I did not want to leave you, Ava said. I wanted to save myself. From what? From becoming like Dad. From spending my life on something that was killing me. Kyle nodded. I get it. But I was 16, and you were the only one who understood me. I am sorry. Do not be. You did the right thing. I just could not see it then. Around midnight, Kyle fell asleep on the bed. Ava pulled a blanket over him and sat back in the chair. She did not sleep, just watched him breathe and prayed he would hold on one more day. In the morning, she woke him. Get dressed. We are going. Where? To the base. I know a medic. He will help you find a real rehab program, not the kind Dad shoved you into. Kyle sat up on the bed. What if I relapse again? You will, maybe more than once, but you will try again, until it works. He looked at her for a long time, then nodded. All right. They left the motel as the sun was just coming up. Ava drove, Kyle in the passenger seat staring out the window. At the base gate, he said, "Thank you for coming." "Always," Ava said. "I will always come." The base medic staff, Sergeant Ruiz, turned out to be a calm man with gray at his temples who spoke softly and did not ask extra questions. He talked with Kyle for an hour, then handed Ava a list of contacts, rehab programs, support groups, therapists. "He has a chance," Ruiz said when they were alone, "if he wants it. And if he does not?" Ruiz looked at her with sympathy. "Then you did everything you could. The rest is his choice." Ava drove Kyle to a rehab center on the outskirts of Sacramento. The place looked decent, clean buildings, a green courtyard, people who did not look broken. While Kyle was checking in at reception, Ava stood beside him and squeezed his hand. "Call me," she said as he was about to go inside. "Every day, even if you just say hi." "All right." He hugged her quick, awkward, the way he had when he was a kid. "I will try," he whispered. "I promise." She returned to the base in the evening. Tired, empty, but somehow lighter. Care met her by the barracks. "Sergeant, the captain is looking for you. Says it is urgent." Ava found Pierce at the command post. He stood over a large map where red lines marked the fire zones. "We have a problem," he said without preamble. "A new front east of Maple Creek. The fire is pushing toward the town of Silver Fork. There are about 200 people there, mostly elderly, who cannot evacuate on their own. We have been ordered to help. When do we roll out?" "At first light tomorrow. But that is not all." He looked at her. "Davis and his crew will be there too. They are working the front line. We will need to coordinate with them." Her heart tightened. "Understood. Can you handle it?" "Yes, sir." He nodded. "Get your people ready. It is going to be rough." Ava went to the barracks and gathered her team. Kerr, Jackson, Morales, and 4 more they had been assigned. She laid out the plan, showed the map, explained what to do. "This will not be like Maple Creek," she said. "We got lucky there. Here we may not, so be ready for anything." Jackson raised a hand. "What if something goes sideways? We run. No heroics. Living people matter more than dead heroes." They prepared into the night. Ava sat on her bunk and wrote to her mother. "Mom, if you are reading this, it means I did not come back. I want you to know, I do not regret anything. Not a single day. Not a single decision. I did what I believed was right, and I hope Kyle finds what is right for him too. Watch over him. I love you both." She sealed the envelope and put it in her desk drawer. She did not sleep at all. She lay there, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Davis, about how tomorrow they would work together, about how 5 years ago she said, "It is a mistake," because she was afraid to feel anything but duty. At 3 in the morning, she got up, got dressed, and stepped onto the parade ground. The night was cold, the stars bright. Somewhere far off, a helicopter roared. They were flying out injured firefighters. "You are not sleeping." She turned. Pierce stood behind her, hands in his pockets. "No, sir." He came up and stood beside her. "Me neither. Always before operations." They stood in silence. "Are you afraid?" Pierce asked suddenly. "Yes. Me too. Every time. But I learned not to let fear run me." Ava looked at him. "How?" "I remember why I am here. Not for glory, not for a career. For the sake of those who need help." He smiled. "You taught me that. At Maple Creek." They went back to the command post together. At 5 in the morning, the convoy rolled out. Silver Fork lay in a hollow between 2 ridges, small, quiet, wooden houses, and an old church at the center. When the convoy arrived, Smoke had already filled the valley. People stood in the street, elderly, with suitcases and bags, looking at the sky as if waiting for the end of the world. Pierce spread the map on the hood. Reynolds, your team takes the south sector. Houses from the church to the school. We evacuate everyone who cannot move on their own. Priority is seniors and people with disabilities. Copy. Fire crews are working the ridge, trying to hold the line. We have 2 hours, maybe less. Ava led her team to the south sector. The first house, a blue wooden place with a porch. On the porch, an old man sat in a rocking chair, a shotgun in his hands. I am not going anywhere, he said when Ava came up. Sir, the fire is coming. You need to evacuate. I was born here. I will die here. Ava crouched beside him. I understand. But if you stay, my people will try to save you, and they may die doing it. Do you want that? The old man looked at her, then at his house. Damn manipulation. Yes, sir. Does it work? He grumbled something and rose. Fine, but I am bringing the cat. Bring him. They evacuated 70 people in an hour. A woman in a wheelchair whom Jackson carried in his arms. A family with 3 children, crying and not wanting to leave their toys. A man with dementia who did not understand what was happening and kept asking, "Where is my wife?" Ava worked on autopilot, going into houses, checking rooms, leading people out. She did not think. She did not feel. She just did. Suddenly, the radio cracked. All units, be advised. The fire has shifted. It is heading straight for town. Evacuation now. Ava looked at the sky. The smoke had turned black and thick. The temperature spiked. Ash fell like snow. Everyone to the trucks, she shouted. Now, they ran. The evacuees ran too, whoever could. Care hoisted an elderly woman in his arms. Morales led 2 kids by the hands. Ava ran last, looking back to be sure no one was left. Then she heard a scream. Help, someone, please. The voice came from the corner house, a big 2-story place with a red tile roof. Ava sprinted toward it. Inside, on the first floor, a woman around 40 stood clutching the hand of a boy about 5. My mother, she is upstairs. She cannot get down. Ava looked at the stairs. Smoke was already seeping through the cracks. Jackson, she yelled into the radio. I have 2 more civilians. I need support. Ava, we are out of time. The fire is 200 meters out. She did not answer. She just ran up the stairs. The second floor was smoky. Ava crouched, covered her mouth with her sleeve. At the end of the hall, a room with the door open. Inside, an elderly woman lay on the bed, thin as a bird. I am Sergeant Reynolds. I am going to carry you out. The woman looked at her with pale eyes. Leave me. I am dying anyway. Not today. Ava lifted her. She weighed almost nothing. She turned to the stairs. The smoke was thicker now, breathing hard, eyes burning. She went down, holding the woman tight, and reached the street. Jackson ran to her. Here, I have her. He took the woman and ran for the truck. Ava helped the mother and child. They climbed into the bed. The truck lurched away. They set up the relief camp 10 miles from Silver Fork at a safe distance from the fire. The evacuees sat in tents, drank water, wrapped themselves in blankets. Medics checked everyone for burns and smoke inhalation. Ava stood by the truck, back to the camp, staring at the mountains. Silver Fork was burned to the ground. Reynolds. She turned. Davis stood behind her, black with ash, exhausted, but alive. Hey, she said. Hey. They stood in silence. Then he pulled her into a hug tight, long, as if he was afraid to let go. You are out of your mind. I know. He let her go and met her eyes. We lost 2 people on the ridge. The fire overran them before they could fall back. Her heart clenched. I am so sorry. One of them was my friend. We started together. Davis looked away, jaw tight. I could not save him. He was screaming over the radio, asking for help, and I could not do a thing. The fire was too fast. Ava put a hand on his shoulder. It is not your fault. Of course it is. I am the crew captain. I am responsible. You did everything you could. He looked at her sharply. How do you live with it? With the responsibility? With knowing your decision can get someone killed? Ava was silent for a long time. Then she said, I do not live with it. I just take the next step, and I try not to think about what could have gone wrong. But you do think about it. Every night. They stood side by side, looking at the mountains where a red glow still burned. The wind brought the smell of smoke, metallic, caustic, unbearable. Why did you not leave the guard? Davis asked suddenly. After so many years. Why did you not walk away from all this shit? Ava smiled sadly. Because I do not know how to do anything else. And because here I feel like I am doing something that matters, even when everything goes to hell. Me too, he said quietly, even after today. He looked at her. We are crazy, right? We are. They laughed briefly, nervously, but they laughed. Captain Pierce came over an hour later. Reynolds, we need to talk. Ava followed him into the command tent. Two officers she did not know sat at the table. Sergeant Reynolds, one of them said, We are with the Guard's command. We heard about your actions at Maple Creek and Silver Fork. Ava straightened. Yes, sir. You saved more than 200 civilians in 2 days. You broke protocol twice to do it, and both times it worked. He paused. We are offering you a promotion. Staff sergeant with a path to officer training. You will have more authority, more responsibility. Ava stood silent. Only one thought kept turning in her head. More responsibility means more decisions, and more decisions means more chances to be wrong. How long do I have to decide? 48 hours. She nodded. Thank you, sir. She stepped out of the tent and walked to the evacuees' camp. She found the elderly woman she had carried out of the burning house. The woman sat on a folding chair, holding a cup of tea. Her daughter and grandson sat beside her. Sergeant, the woman smiled weakly. Thank you. You saved my life. Ava crouched. How are you feeling? Old, but alive. The daughter grabbed Ava's hand. You are a hero. A real one. Ava shook her head. I was just doing my job. No, the old woman looked at her seriously. You risked your life for me, even though I am old and not worth it. Every life is worth it, Ava said softly. The woman smiled and squeezed her hand. Ava walked to the edge of the camp and sat on the ground. She took out her phone. 3 missed calls from her brother. She dialed. Ava, Kyle's voice was clearer than yesterday. Hi, how are you? Holding on. It is hard, but I am holding on. And you? I heard there is another fire. Yes, we evacuated people. Everyone make it? Ava fell silent. She thought of the 2 firefighters who did not come back. Not everyone. Kyle was quiet, then said, You are doing everything you can. That is what matters. It is not always enough. It is never enough. But that does not mean you give up. She smiled through tears. When did you get so wise? When I started fighting instead of giving up. They talked another hour. About small things, about fears, about what comes next. When Ava hung up, she felt lighter. The next morning she found Captain Pierce. I accept the offer, she said. The promotion. Pierce smiled. Excellent. You will do fine. How do you know? Because you are already doing it. Now you will have the stripes to prove it. Ava nodded. Later that day, she stood at the edge of the camp, looking toward the mountains. The fire had finally died down. Rain fell in the night and knocked down the front. The air smelled of wet earth and ash. Somewhere far off, a bird cried. Davis came up and stood beside her. I heard you got promoted. I did. Congratulations. Thank you. They were quiet. Then he said, 5 years ago, I asked why you thought we were a mistake. You never really answered. Ava looked at him. Because I was afraid. Afraid to feel anything besides duty. Afraid that if I let myself love you, I would not be able to do my job. And now? Now I know it was not a mistake. It was just the wrong time. Davis smiled sadly. And when will it be the right time? I do not know. Maybe never. He nodded. Then I will wait. Davis. No, I will wait, because you are worth it. He walked away. Ava stood watching him go and felt something inside her soften, not break, just soften, become more human. That evening, she wrote a letter to her mother. Mom, I finally understood something important. Service is not running away from life. It is part of life. My life, I cannot save everyone. I cannot be perfect, but I can take the next step, and that matters. Kyle is fighting. I am fighting too. We are all fighting, and as long as we fight, we are alive. I love you. I will come home soon. She sealed the envelope and slipped it into her pack. The next morning, the convoy pulled out of the camp. Ahead was a new operation, a new fire, new people to save. Ava sat in the Humvee, watched the road, and thought about what Kyle had said. That does not mean you give up. She did not intend to. Never. 6 months later, Ava Reynolds stood on the base parade ground in a new staff sergeant uniform. Captain Pierce pinned a medal for valor to her chest. Kerr, Jackson, and Morales stood beside her, all smiling. In the crowd, she spotted Kyle, clean, sober, alive. He waved at her. Their mother stood next to him, crying with joy. And in the back row, a little apart, stood Davis. He did not come over. He just watched, and he smiled. Ava knew there would be new fires ahead, new decisions, new fears, but she also knew she was not alone, that there were people who believed in her, and that mattered. She straightened, saluted, and felt something inside her, something dark and heavy she had carried for years, finally grow lighter. It did not vanish. It just became possible to carry. And that was enough. Subscribe to our channel so you do not miss out, because this is nothing compared to what is coming next. If you are under 18, do not even think about clicking next.